करुणापूर्णसुधाब्धे कबलितघनविश्वरूपकिरणावल्याम् अरुणाचलपरमात्मन् अरुणो भवत् चित्तकञ्जसुविकासाय त्वयि अरुणाचल सर्वं भूत्वा स्थित्वा प्रलीनम् एतच्चित्रम् हृद्यहमित्यात्मतया नृत्यसि भोः ते वदन्ति हृदयं नाम अहमिति कुत आयातीत्यन्विष्यान्तः प्रविष्टयात्यमलधियाम् अवगम्य स्वं रूपं शाम्यत्यरुणाचलत्वयि नदीवाब्धौ त्यक्त्वा विषयं बाह्यं रुद्धप्राणेन रुद्धमनसान्तस्त्वां ध्यायन् पश्यति योगी दीधितिम् अरुणाचलत्वयि महीयं ते त्वयि अर्पितमनसा त्वां पश्यन् सर्वं तवाकृतितया सततं भजते अनन्यप्रीत्या स जयत्यरुणाचलत्वयि सुखे मग्नः. So today is the 6th day of our satsanga. Yesterday we saw three of Bhagavan Buddha's disciples and their story. Buddhism has so many terminologies like Sotāpanna, Sakadāgāmi, Anāgāmi, etc. In Vedanta also there are so many terminologies. But generally in Vedanta titles are not given. Like he says Sotāpanna, or he says Sakadāgāmi, Anāgāmi, etc. Because in Vedanta, even the disciplehood and the guruhood is only temporarily accepted. Actually, for the guru, the disciple is only pretending. That is what Bhagavan says, you are only pretending. Where is bandha? Where is bondage? The moment you wake up from the dream ends. There is no dream. So when you look at it from that standpoint, it is utterly simple, very, very simple. In fact, it is too simple. That makes it very difficult. Because we are very complex. So all these practices, austerities are all there to unwind all that we have superimposed on us, slowly to come out of it, wriggle out of this. As long as the person is in the plane of ego, jiva bhava, certainly he is in the plane of becoming. That is what we call bhava, bhava roga. I am something, I will become something, I will become something. So this is called roga. Roga means disease, becoming. But in that plane, there is doing, there is struggle, there is practice, there is attainment, achievement, there is doubt, there is freedom, bondage, everything is real as long as the jiva is in that plane. So the first stage, you can put some, I was also contemplating what all stages can be told in Vedanta. So the first stage is Arurukshu, we call it Arurukshu. In Gita it is Arurukshu, means one who wants to climb. He wants to climb. He has no idea, but he is fascinated by the transcendental. Whatever you may call as Bhagavan, Bhakti or Jnanam. And he is also conscious of his worthless state, where he is suffering, miserable due to I, mine, this suffocating feeling of bondage. So he wants to come out of it. So in that state, the only thing that he can hold on to is the physical body and the action from the body. So there, he is a karma yogi. That is the only thing that he can do. Because he knows only the body, nothing else. Annamayam Atmanam. So in that state, he learns this art of karma yoga, performing action without any desire or offering the action to the higher, Bhagavan. That is what Bhagavan also says, Jagata Ishwararpitam Nechayakritam. Offering the result to Bhagavan, that is actually true bhakti. True bhakti is karma yoga, is true bhakti. Actually, Ramanuja translates karma yoga as bhakti yoga. For them, this kainkarya is very important. So, this karma yoga is bhakti. Whatever you do, see, if there is no Bhagavan in the heart, karma yoga is not possible. Otherwise, the fan is a karma yogi. No desire. No desire for the result. Nobody gives anything to the fan. We are all taking fruits. No fruit is given to fan. But constantly giving us this kainkarya seva. Devotees are all listening. It is giving you breeze. So, that is not karma yoga because it has no ego. It has no Bhagavan also. It is not offering anything. It is just a dead thing. Karma kim param, karma tat jadam. So when Ishvara Bhava comes and the offering to the Lord comes, then it is karma yoga. In Buddhism, I feel it happens like to the Guru. And the Guru, the master is there. I have read one beautiful story in an Amarchitra Katha that many devotees, many followers of Buddha are looking at Buddha with awe, with devotion. And the king Prasenajit was there. He was also sitting there. And one poor man, very poor man, he comes there. He looks at Buddha and he was fascinated. His heart opens. He wants to do something. He has no idea. He wants to do something. Then he finds that people are offering Buddha clothes or fruits. He has nothing to offer. He takes his torn Angavastra. It's all completely shattered Angavastra. He takes that cloth and gives to Buddha. He has nothing to wear. He is giving it to Buddha. Buddha accepts it with so much love. Presided looks at it, the king. He felt, I should do something to this man. So he has brought about 50 or 60 clothes to offer to the bhikshus. So he asks his servant to bring them, and from that a good vastra, cloth, he takes and gives to this poor man. But he was looking at Buddha. Prasenajit is giving him cloth from this side. He receives the cloth like this. He was not looking at him. He is looking at Buddha, receives the cloth with his hands and gives it to Buddha. And all the 60 clothes he receives and gives. No Prasenajit, neither himself. Like that he was giving the clothes. So that is Karma Yoga. See, you need an higher ideal there to offer. You need an higher ideal where you can offer. So either Bhagavan or Guru, somewhere the offering happens. It purifies the mind. So this is the first. When the mind is sufficiently purified, some kind of meditation happens. Upasana. Some form, some mantra, something to hold on. Keep the mind in a higher level. So this is Karma Yoga, then Upasana, then the mind is purified. What is the sign of the purified mind? When the mind is sufficiently purified, this longing, this inquisitiveness to know the higher arises. The sign of purified mind is naturally you ask, who am I? What is my real nature? Am I this body? What is the reality behind my life? This question naturally arises, jijnasa. So there the person makes a shift from doing to listening, shravana, shushrusha, shrotum icha or jijnasa. Then he listens to the teaching. In Buddhism also they give so much importance to that shravana. So there he becomes a shrotriya, shrotriyatva. He listens to the higher teaching of Shruti, the Upanishad, then he becomes the shrotriya. Then after listening, absorbing, or along with that, the mind contemplates on that higher teaching. So manana, mananabhyasa. Then comes the real spirituality. As we said yesterday about Ananda, this churning is happening, churning the fire. And the first manifestation of the spark, that we call the spurti. In Bhagavan's presence also, many got that spurti. Bhagavan uses the word spurti, spurana. So that spurti labha is real initiation into spiritual life. Till then, only this doing or even whatever you may be doing with the mind also, listening the thoughts, concentrating the mind, meditating with the mind, it is all limited. Because mind is not the real instrument with which you are going to transcend. It is also a jadavastu, dead vastu. So the first arrival of this celestial thing, it makes a small hole in your mind and enters there. That is spurti. It gives you vision. It's like real inner avatara. It descends into your mind and gives you a breakthrough. You have a vision of the infinite. Ramakrishna once told Master Maharshi, he said, he held one cloth before him. See, now you cannot see me. Now I put a small hole here. Through that you can see. Like that is this spurti. The infinity is there and you have a glimpse of it. So the first glimpse is this spurti labha. From my side, I say this is stream entering. The spurti is the first entering of the stream. The current. Then holding on to that current, that spurti dharana, Hmm? Not affected by other thoughts, not affected by emotions, not affected by imaginations, holding to this celestial thing, this sacred throb inside, which is devoid of any material vesture. Holding on to that Akasha Kanika inside is Nididhyasana. There only Nididhyasana happens. Traditionally, many scholars, they will translate Nididhyasana means studying and thinking over it and contemplating. No. This Spurti must be held inside, then it is Nididhyasana Siddhi. Then, if the yogi has the Yoga Samskara, Nirvikalpa Yoga might occur. In Buddha, Nirvikalpa Yoga was there. In Bhagavan, Nirvikalpa Yoga was there. Ramakrishna, Nirvikalpa Yoga was there for months or for weeks or for one day. Sometimes the person is absorbed in that state. That is Nirvikalpa Yoga. That also comes and goes. The person will enter it and come out. Then comes the Nirvikalpa Bodha. It is not the mind. It is not the mind. It is not the mental thing, it is not meditation, it is not the absorption, it is the recognition of the eternally free principle behind. Becoming aware of it. The intellect is only becoming aware. It is not doing anything, it is already there. Just recognizing it, the person is free. That is Atma Sakshatkara. That Nirvikalpa Bodha. This without Nirvikalpa Yoga also, certain yogis, they enter Nirvikalpa Bodha. They don't need this absorption, outer meditation or anything. Trance is not needed. Without that also this can happen. There only this sampradaya, they say this is not needed, and some people have this samskara of this. That also it has its own beauty. Even after realization, yogi might remain in samadhi whenever he pleases. Sadashiva Brahmendra says it is like a royal monarch playing chess. It's only that much importance. He has time, he is free, so he decides now I will play for some time. Like that the yogi also decides to remain in samadhi. Sarvatmatam upagatopi munihi samadhim purvanuvrittamayate samayapanutye. Paryapta sarva vibhava kshitipopi kala niryapanaya kurute chaturanga leelam. He does chaturanga leela. He plays chaturanga means this chess. Like that he just plays with samadhi. Or he can do work in the world, give this teaching to everyone. It is all according to that niyati. So this whole flow is there in Vedanta. This is the step by step by step. So now we can say he is Arurukshu. I don't know. We can, as Bande said, how can we find out? How can we give stamp? It is not possible. But generally, when a person blossoms, naturally it will tell where he is. So anyway, this is all, something happens and you make a science out of it. It's very beautiful. The entire spiritual life is a Kalyana Patha. It's a very beautiful journey, very auspicious journey. And every step is divine. Even you fall, even you have dry state, there also you are blessed. Then also you will struggle, and from that you will learn something. You will become stronger. You will become more adept in that. One place Swami Vivekananda says, I know every corner of this spiritual life because I have fought with my master every step. I had a fight with my master every step. So you fight with yourself, you know every corner of spiritual life. That is what Buddha also says. Every corner he went and found and declares. So this is the beauty of spiritual life. We just say spiritual life. It is neither Buddhism nor Jainism nor Advaita Vedanta nor Visishtadvaita Advaita. Just Bhakti, Jnanam, Vairagyam, spiritual practice, a noble life, a pure life, where there is motiveless love, spending time in the higher. All these differences, let us leave it to the scholars. Let them, they have no other work to do, let them fight. So we are very busy. So we have no time because we have seen death. It is there. So we have no time to fight or debate all these things. Every moment is precious. Every moment is valuable. So let us be conscious of it and move. Arunachala Shiva.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang gunuttarang upajjayang namasami. Aparutate sangamatas sadvara yeso tavanta pamucchantu saddhang. Mata pitu pathanang puttadharasa sangaho. Anakula chakam manta etang mangalamuttamanti. Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaika Rupine Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. With Acharyal's permission, start today's discussion. Very nice to see you all. Welcome back. Can everyone hear me at the back? Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'll talk louder. How's that? Yeah? So Acharya gave a beautiful, beautiful introduction. And so even though I really enjoyed myself with the stories, because Acharya said, it was very enjoyable for me. So today we'll do a little bit of, we were talking about, so based on Acharya's introduction, I think it'll be beneficial to talk about all these terminology a little bit. What is a Sotāpanna and all of that. And then for story time, we'll talk about one of the most inspiring characters in Buddhist history or Buddhist stories, Buddhist mythology, which is Angulimala. And another female Arahant called Kisa Gautami. So we'll see how time goes. So like Acharya was saying, it is that bhava, this addiction to becoming, which is one of the things that binds us to samsara. So my teacher's teacher, Ajahn Chah, would always say, in Buddhism there's always this competition between Arahant and Bodhisattva. So all the Theravada people, they'll say we have to become Arahant. All the Mahayana people will say, oh, these Theravada people are selfish. They don't know what they are talking about. Arahant is a very selfish ideal. They just want enlightenment for themselves. You have to be a Bodhisattva. You have to fight for the enlightenment of all living beings. And only at the very end should you think of your own enlightenment. You should be a Bodhisattva. Ajahn Chah always used to say, don't be an Arahant, don't be a Bodhisattva, be nothing. Which is the very wise teaching. Because when you look at an Arahant, all you can see is a Bodhisattva. When you see a Bodhisattva, all you can see is an Arahant. Because wisdom and compassion are never separate. You cannot separate wisdom and compassion. Where there is wisdom, there is compassion. Where there is compassion, there has to be wisdom. So apparently, there were 3 monks who met at a railway station. They're planning on traveling from different schools. They were sitting and talking. And one monk said, "My teacher is very great. He's the best teacher. He can go without eating for days on end." The other monk looked at him and said, "That's nothing. My teacher is greater than your teacher. He can go for days on end without sleeping." Then they looked at the third monk. The third monk was quiet. He said, "Look, I don't know about all that, but my teacher is wise enough to eat when he is hungry and wise enough to sleep when he is tired." So that's human nature, right? Whenever we see something spectacular, whenever we see something out of the ordinary, whenever we see something wonderful, marvelous, magical, our attention is immediately drawn to that. And we place great importance to that. And we gauge that entire person, that entire person's practice, everything. Oh, such a great person, he can go for 10 days without eating. That's what makes the human mind tick. That's why if you look at birds, they're always attracted to colorful flowers. Because that's what our senses need that. It needs an attraction. But then you look at other sadhakas who are very quiet, in the background. For them, nothing is extraordinary. They don't do magic. They don't walk on water. They don't lie down on beds of thorns. But for them, consistency, simplicity, consistency, constancy, steady flow, that steady flow, which is very quiet. Right? So these miracles can be outliers. Then this leads us to another story. So what I think is very important is to have that kind of consistency, where one is consistently happy with everything. It's not that suffering never comes to us. Life is full of suffering. When suffering comes, how can we be happy in the midst of that suffering? How can we be joyful in the midst of that suffering? My teacher and his teacher, Ajahn Sumedho, will always say, that which knows suffering does not suffer. That which knows sickness is not sick. Right? And so abiding in that which knows everything, yet is not touched, is not tinged, it's not colored, it's not changed by any experience. Right? So it seems one day Venerable Ananda and a few other bhikshus were sitting in a monastery and talking, and Venerable Ananda is relating the birth story of the Buddha. And he was saying, the Buddha is so great. When his mother, Mahamaya, conceived him, she had a dream in which there was a very beautiful white elephant with 6 tusks, and this white elephant entered her womb. And she woke up feeling very, very joyful. And through the pregnancy, so this sutra is called Ascharya Adbhuta Sutra. So the sutra of the wonderful and the marvelous. Ascharyam and Adbhuta. So the Ananda is now relating all these things about the Buddha's life, which are Ascharya, marvelous, wonderful, causes us to think, and Adbhuta, rare, miraculous, all of that. So he says one of the miracles in the Buddha's life is that when he was conceived, Mahamaya had this dream and this white elephant with 6 tusks entered her womb, and she woke up feeling so blessed, so happy, so content, so fulfilled. Right through her pregnancy, she never had any sickness, she never had any pain. Then she decided to travel from Kapilavastu to her father's house to give birth. On the way, they stopped at Lumbini, and it was time for her to deliver. So she delivered standing up, holding the branches of 2 trees, and she gave birth. As the Buddha descended, all the devatas from the Devalokas came and held the Buddha, and spontaneously there were 2, one hot stream and one cold stream that burst from the earth, and it cleaned the Buddha. Then as they were ready to put him on the ground, whenever his foot touched the ground, lotuses were springing up. Usually lotus is on the lake, but for the Buddha it grows on the earth. So all these lotuses were springing up, and the Buddha took 7 steps, and he said, I have arrived, I am the supreme, I will be the supreme enlightened one. And Ananda says, isn't that wonderful, isn't that wonderful? So they're talking about all this, they're all getting lots of bhakti, they're getting excited. Then the Buddha walks in. So even in our monastery, it's like that. All our monks, when we sit and we keep chatting and joking and sometimes gossiping, then suddenly the teacher will come, we'll all be quiet. We'll be quiet, pretend as if nothing is happening. So the Buddha came, all of them became very quiet. So the Buddha asked, what are you talking about? So Ananda said, oh Lord, we are talking about all these wonderful miracles and all these awe-inspiring incidents that happened in your life, this, that. And Buddha is listening, he's nodding. Yeah, that's all fine, but do you know the real miracle of a Tathagata? So Ananda and his companions are super excited. Wow, something more miraculous than this? It must be really good. They say, no, but please tell us. So the Buddha says, well, the real miracle of the Tathagata is that he knows the beginning, the abiding, and the cessation of a bodily sensation. He knows the beginning, abiding, and cessation of thought. And he knows the beginning, abiding, and cessation of all sense stimuli and sense consciousness. That's it. That is all the wonder of the Tathagata, wonder of the Buddha. So the Buddha, in many instances like this, he draws our attention back from all of these things which are seemingly miraculous to what's going on here. What's going on here? There is fine, but the real work, real attention is here. So bring it back. Okay. Wonderful, sobering experience. So then again, that's why, people are very fascinated, especially in Theravada circles, people are very, very fascinated with these 4 levels of, they actually call it the 4 levels of attainment. Sotāpanna, Sakadāgāmi, Anāgāmi, and Arahant. But when you look at the framework of liberation, the Buddha said there are 10 things that bind us to samsara. As you keep letting go of these things, you progress in the spiritual life. So if we are able to let go of the first 3, we enter the stream of consciousness, enter the stream of the Brahman, enter the stream of Nibbana. And like Acharya was saying, how Ramakrishna Paramahamsa put a small hole, it says that the Shrotapanna or the Sotapanna will get a glimpse of Nirvana. So they get a taste, they get an idea, but there's still work to do because you want to make that permanent. You want to make that should be the whole of the being. So there's work, but still they get a glimpse. So when out of these fetters that we have, these 10 fetters, if you drop 3, you are a Sotāpanna. You reduce 2 more, you become a Sakadāgāmi. You get rid of all 5, you become an Anāgāmi. Then you work on the last 5, you become an Arahant. Right? So it's a process of letting go. It is a process of unlearning. It is a process of removing the burden. There's no question of attainment here. Right? So it's not something that feeds the ego. It's not something that is an attainment, something you can wear like a badge. Rather, we recognize, okay, we are starting from where we are. We identify all these things within us, and we try and let go of things that are not helpful, that are possibly going to cause a drag during the travel or be an obstacle during the spiritual journey. And actually, there is no journey. This is just a figurative. Some person said the entire length of the spiritual journey is the distance from here to here. That's it. From the head to the heart. So, coming back to classical Theravada teaching. So, we have all these samyojanas, and if the first three samyojanas are dropped, what are the first three? The first one is called Sakkaya Ditti, or Sat Kaya Drishti. Whenever you look at the Kaya, you think that is Sat. So this is my body. This is my hand. This is my head. My body weighs, I don't know what my weight is, must be 120, 100, whatever, 120 kilos. My body is fat. My body is thin. My body is tall. My body is... all of these things that we keep assigning to the body, right? Not only do we assigning is okay, but then we add a kind of value to it, and then we either become very proud or we become very ashamed. So, attachment to this body, Sakaya Drishti. Generally, in English, when people ask someone, how are you? Someone can say, I have a headache. Right? In Tamil, if someone says, eppadi irke, they say, thala valikiradu. The head is aching. There's a difference. The difference is very subtle. But in the subtlety of that language itself, it shows a kind of emphasis. Right? So in general, instead of owning everything, instead of owning the headache, it is my headache, my head is aching, my stomach is aching. If you say, yeah, there's pain in the stomach, there's pain in the head, of course, people will think you have bad English, but you have good spirituality. Yeah, that's more important. Having good spirituality is more important than not having good English. So, that distancing, that objectification, that helps reducing this Sakkaya Ditti. So, whenever this me thought or my thought comes in relation to the body, can identify that this is Sakkaya Ditti. The next one is Vichikitsa in Pali. Sanskrit, Vichikitsa. Right? Vichikitsa. And generally it is defined as doubt, and doubting the teachings of the Buddha, doubting the Sangha. But it actually goes deeper than that. Right? It's not just doubting. It is a kind of procrastination. It is a kind of mental debate that happens all the time. Right? It is an unwillingness or an inability to follow instruction. The Guru will say, sit down, close your eyes and watch the breath. Right? We'll sit down, close our eyes, watch the breath. Okay, my Guru has told me I must watch the breath. Am I doing it right? Right? Should I watch it at the tip of the nose? Should I watch it in the middle of the stomach, middle of the chest, at the bottom of the stomach? Was he right in giving me this practice? Maybe I should be doing something else. Right? Like that, the whole 1 hour will go. He's told you to sit for an hour and watch the breath. Right? First of all, the inability to sit. Secondly, this mind that jumps up, that says, is this the right practice? Am I doing it right? Should I be doing it some other way? Should I be doing something else? Right? And an inability. Oh, it's now 10:40. Should I sit and meditate now? I don't know. Look, so many vessels are there to clean. Normally the vessels will be there. No one will bother about cleaning. During meditation time, that becomes very important. I have to go clean the vessels. Meditation can do, I'll first clean the vessels. So you start generally avoiding, postponing, giving into this kind of lackadaisical, lazy, not having what is called virya in Sanskrit, virya in Pali, or not having chanda, not having an enthusiasm, vichikiccha. Right? So that is also very tangible, easy to identify. Then the Buddha says there's another thing, sila vatta paramasa. So sila is what we spoke about, moral way of living, all the precepts that we practice. Ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, shaucham, indriya nigraha. Same thing in Buddhism also. Just the words are different. If someone is really good in that, then if I'm very good in that, I start feeling superior. See, I'm so good in this. They are all not, they're trying, but I'm very good. Then I see someone doing something, hey, don't do it that way. There's an ego. That's called this kind of spiritual conceit that comes in. It's very harmful. So, sila, virtuous living, vratha, same thing. Very often you can see in our monasteries, many monks want to practice Maitri Bhava. What is Maitri Bhava? Metta Bhavana in Pali, in Sanskrit Maitri Bhava. You want to be loving to everything. Right? It is the same feeling that a mother has to her newborn child. That very deep sense of. So many monks will want to practice Maitri Bhava. You go and ask them something, hey, don't disturb me, I'm doing Maitri Bhavana. Total opposite, right? So, you've taken on a vratha, but then you hold it wrong. You're practicing sila, virtuous living, but that itself becomes a feeding of the ego, concretization of the ego, ridiculing somebody else, not giving respect to somebody else. So instead of it resulting in humility, it results in great conceit. So we have these three things. Sakkaya Ditti, Vichikiccha, Silavatta Paramasa. If with consistent, continued effort, the guidance of a good teacher, and, I generally Buddhists shouldn't say it, but I say it, but with Ishvaranugraham, if we are able to work on this and we are able to transcend this, then we can enter the stream of consciousness, the stream of knowing. We can be a Sotāpanna. Again, we abide as a Sotāpanna. Somebody asked Ajahn Chah, are you liberated? First he said, there is nobody who can get liberated. Then he said, what is the use to you if I'm liberated or not? None of your business. You worry about your liberation. Leave my liberation to me. Right? So we look at ourselves all the time. Look at ourselves, and look at ourselves not with a negative mind state, but with the mind state of constantly attuning to higher values, attuning to perfection. Because generally when we look at ourselves, there's a lot of self-hatred and self-judgment. I'm not good in this. I can't do this properly. They can do it. Avalalala mudiyum, ennala mudiyad. They can do it, I can't. We place all these artificial limitations on ourselves. So better not to go there. Better not to go there. Just look at something as an ideal and say, what can I do to reach that ideal? in a very gentle way, negating this self-hatred, self-judgment, self-loathing, but always looking at something brighter, something more positive, then the whole journey becomes very uplifting. It becomes a journey of love, becomes a journey of peace. Like in suddenly, I think Skanda Guru Gauchatrudane, Anbe Maunam, Anbe Moksham.
Anbe Shivam, Anbe Satyam, Anbe Devarum, Anbe Manidarum, Anbe Ni, Anbe Nanam.
Anbe Niyum, Anbe Nanam.
Anbe Satyam, Anbe Nityam, Anbe Anandam, Anbe Peranandam, Anbe Anitthumendrai, Anbillada Idam, Angum Engum Illai. Engum Niraindha Anbe Endurunare.
Murugan Mama is the ready reckoner. Kanda Guru Kacha. It's beautiful. Anbe Niyum, Anbe Nanum, Anbe Jnanamam. You are love, I am love. The pure Jnana is love. Anbe Anaittum Endrai. Love is everywhere. Love is everything. Anbillada idam angum ingum illai endrai. There is no place, there's neither here nor there that is without love. Right? So whenever we look at something positive, and that's why Acharya keeps telling me, tell stories, because we are looking at something more positive. We are looking at something that is an ideal. We are looking at possibilities. They've also been human beings, right? And if they can do it, why can't we? The Buddha was born as a human being. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was born as a human being. Ramana Maharshi was born as a human being. If they can do it, we can also do it, right? So, that is what in Buddhism is known as Shraddha. They don't use, the word Bhakti is used only sparingly. Everywhere there's Shraddha. Shraddha is the beginning. In fact, that chant I always begin my talks with, Aparuta tesang amatassadvara. Open are the doors to the deathless. Ye sotavanta pamucchantu saddham. Those who want to listen, let them come in with Shraddha. So Shraddha is the beginning. It is the starting point of everything. Including in Buddhism, we have a very famous for lists. We have lists for everything. 4 noble truths, 8-fold noble path, 36 factors of, 37 factors of realization, 36 characteristics of the great beings. All that, we have many, many lists. 5 hindrances, 5 friends, all of that. But anyway, everything starts with Shraddha. Everything starts with Shraddha. Beginning is always Shraddha. So, we saw these 3. Then the next 5 again are quite concrete. First is Kama Chanda, which is a fascination and intoxication, a kind of addiction to sense desire. The next one is Vyapada, which is ill will. Right? So generally, if someone has finished with the first 3 and they are able to reduce these 2, they are called a Sakadāgāmi. So what happens is, apparently according to the classical texts, once you have dropped the first 3 fetters, you are guaranteed that you have only 7 more lifetimes to finish the work. 7 maximum. 7 more lifetimes. Maximum, not more than that. But sometimes people drop these 3 and then they are also able to work on sensual desire, sensual attraction, or ill will, or both together. Right? Generally it means don't dwell in opposites. That's all it means. Don't dwell in opposites. Because the opposite of sensual desire or any kind of desire is hatred, ill will. So we either want or we don't want. And we can notice in ourselves very quickly when I see something, oh, that looks nice. Immediately what is the following thought? I want that. Right? Or this is not very nice. Immediate, I must throw it away. It's not nice. Right? Constantly grabbing, getting rid of. Grabbing, getting rid of. And always with the opposites, right? So when we are constantly with the opposites, the only thing that will increase is stress. Because if I like something and I want something, I get stressed. I have to find ways and means of acquiring it. If I don't want something, I have to get rid of it. That is also stressful, right? So basically, at a very basic level, do not give in to these opposites. So if someone has dropped the first three and has considerably reduced the next two, they are called Sakadāgāmi or Sakadāgāmi. That means they'll come back in this human form for just one more lifetime, and they'll finish their work and they'll go off. But let's say they are able to finish all five, right? Then they'll be an Anāgāmi. That means they won't come back to the earth. They'll be born in a Devaloka where everything will be very conducive, where they can just sit in silence and they can meditate, work on the next five fetters, and then from there attain complete liberation. So, what are the next five fetters? The next five fetters are a little more subtle. These are a little more tangible because we are able to see it, we are able to work with it. Next five, the first one or the first two of the second set of five are called Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga. So we want to view it through the lens of Advaita Vedanta. It is nothing but a craving or an attachment to Savikalpa Samadhi, a craving and an attachment to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Both have to be let go of. In general, when we are starting, yes, that has to push us. We must. I mean, it's very noble to have that kind of desire, to have a desire for either Savikalpa or Nirvikalpa. But at some point, it has to be dropped. If it's not dropped, that itself becomes the biggest hindrance. Right? Like Ananda, who we saw yesterday. So much desire. He dropped the desire, he got enlightened. So, yes, even though these are good things and good practices and good aspirations, at some point it will fall off. So, Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, then is the most interesting set of three, because this is where the real work begins. The last three are like a link, like all three are linked together. If one drops, the other two automatically drop. And what are these three? Asmimana, Uddacha, and Avidya. Right? Or it finally culminates at Avidya. So our birth starts with Avidya, and then if we end the Avidya, then we get full enlightenment. In Pali it's Avidya, Sanskrit it's Avidya. So what is this Asmimana? Asmimana is this thought, like how Bhagavan says the I thought should be taken to its source and dissolved in the source. That is exactly that. Asmimana. This thought that I am must cease. So you can see how similar these are, right? Like, yes, there is Savikalpa Samadhi, there is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You practice that, achieve that, abide in that, let go of that. Finally, you come to the I thought. I thought also has to go back into its source. So as long as the I thought is there, right, there is some amount of restlessness. There is some amount of movement. I wouldn't even say restlessness, but there's some kind of movement, either in the mind or instead of mind, let's say, there is some kind of movement in the chitta. That's what they call Uddacha, Audhatya in Sanskrit. With Asmimana being released, with the I thought subsiding, that restlessness disappears, that movement disappears. What remains is silence and stillness. Avidya is completely dissolved. Right? So this is then, congratulations, you've become an Arahant. That is the scriptural explanation of these 4 stages of spiritual evolution, spiritual enlightenment. Yesterday there was a question, there were actually 2 questions. What is the difference between Cittamātra and the teachings of Ramana Maharshi? Like Acharya said, there are some questions we should leave only to the scholars. Right? I'm neither an expert on Cittamātra, nor am I an expert on the Bhagavan's teachings. I'm not an expert, full stop. So I'm not the right person to answer this. Right? So whoever asked the question, please, my apologies. I don't think I can give you a satisfactory answer. I would say maybe ask a scholar, or better still, don't worry about the difference. If you like practicing Cittamātra, practice Cittamātra. You like practicing Bhagavan's teachings, practice Bhagavan's teachings. Either way, practice. Don't worry about these differences. And there was another question, why do I get a vision of the Buddha with his head shaved? So this is very actually interesting. So when you read the Vinaya, and which has many historical accounts of the Buddha and the Sangha, initially the Buddha also used to shave his head. Right? And then people who came wouldn't know who the Buddha was, because all the monks looked like that. Everyone was wearing similar robes, everyone had a shaven head. Right? We don't have name tags. So no way of knowing. So then at some point the Buddha said, okay, I'll start growing my hair. He started growing his hair. There are many. There was one, actually Ajahn Sumedho, he got an artist and a sculptor from Thailand. They came to England and he wanted to make a statue of the Buddha as the Vinaya described him, with a shaven head. So they made that statue. They consulted all the texts and, they made that statue. No one could recognize that was the Buddha. Everyone said, oh, that's a nice monk. Oh, the statue of a monk. So now for distinction, right? This is all just iconography. For about 400 years after the death of the Buddha, there were no rupas of the Buddha. The Buddha had prohibited, there should be no rupas of me. So, like how we have Vishnupada, there is Buddhapada. So that's what was used. It was an aniconic representation. People would worship the Buddhapada. People would worship a Bodhi tree. People, or in a vihara, there'll be, even now if you go to Ajanta and Ellora, you can see this. There'll be an empty throne with a 7-tiered umbrella on top. Right? That's how the Buddha was represented. Or the Buddha was represented as a Dharma Chakra. So all of these were symbols of veneration that people used to pay homage to the Buddha. Then as Buddhism started spreading more and more to the west, it started entering the Bactrian territories. This is where Greeks married Indians, and it was a mixture of society. Kind of people from Jambudvipa, people from Greece. So somewhere west of Afghanistan, west of Gandhara, all of that. That's where the first statues of the Buddha came. And in fact, we have a representation, somebody donated to the monastery, duplicate of some very old statue in Gandhara. You look at the Buddha, he looks Greek. He doesn't look Indian at all. He looks like a Greek person. Long nose, kind of curly hair that's falling like this. So when you look at a statue of Apollo and you look at a statue of the Buddha, the only thing different is that the Buddha is wearing a robe. So same way, if you go to Thailand, the Buddha will look Thai. You go to Burma, the Buddha will look Burmese. Go to Sri Lanka, the Buddha will look Sri Lankan. China, Japan, Korea, same thing. So these are all just iconic representations. At some point, yes, the Buddha was fully shaven. Then he started growing. And some people in Mahayana schools, they believe that this is called the Ushnisha. So it is the bump on the top of the head which is signified by the hair being knotted. And again, there are stories that the Buddha is, he's called a Dakshina Purusha. This idea of rightness, Dakshina, is so strong in him that his hair will always go from right to left. So his curls are always like this. So that's again a representation of faith. We don't know if the original Buddha was like that or not, but it's a good representation, good idea. So we keep it and we follow it. So now it's 11 o'clock. We'll probably talk about Angulimala and then leave Kisa Gautami for tomorrow. But tomorrow also we'll do the chant that Venerable Sariputta gave to his mother. It's very, very important, and it's one of our most valued, very treasured chants that we chant very often. And it's called the Triratna Guna, the Guna of the three Ratanas. Three Ratna Guna, characteristics of the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. It's very interesting, very inspiring. So now coming to once upon a time, in the kingdom of King Prasenjit, in Pali he is called Pasenadi, he had a minister. In some sources his name is Bharadvaja, in other sources his name is Garga. Anyway, these are names of two Gautrams. We don't know which Gautram he came from, either Bharadvaja Gautram or Garga Gautram. Anyway, we have Garga, and his wife was called Mantrini. Now, this Garga and Mantrini were a very pious couple, and they were very devoted to King Prasenjit. And this Garga was King Prasenjit's senior advisor, almost like a chief minister. So one day Gargi got pregnant, and a few months later she gave birth to a child. And Garga, depending on the time of birth, wrote out the horoscope and took the horoscope to a good, reputed astrologer. The astrologer read the horoscope and he said, "My God, this child will be extremely violent. He'll be extremely destructive." Right? So then Garga asks him, "Okay, will he operate as a gang or will he operate alone?" So the astrologer says, no, he'll operate alone. He won't form a gang and all that. He's a loner. So he's a loner who'll be very destructive and who'll be very, very violent. So then he goes to the king Pasenadi, Pasenjit in Sanskrit, Pasenadi in Pali. So Pasenadi sees him. Pasenadi says, why do you look so sad? He says, well, this morning my wife gave birth to a child. I took the horoscope to the astrologer. The astrologer has said that this child is going to be very destructive. So he asks King Pasenadi, what should we do? Should we just get rid of the child? Because if he's going to grow up and he's going to cause so much of destruction and he might kill so many people. So King Pasenjit says, no, let's not do that. You keep him in your house and you try teaching him all good things. You try and change his charita. Try and change his character by constantly teaching him, advising him, molding him. So Garga thinks, okay, this is a good idea. So goes home, tells Mantrini. Mantrini is also happy. So they decide to name the child Ahimsaka. So Angulimala's childhood name was Ahimsaka. And he grows up in a very pious environment. His parents are teaching him all good things. He has elders around him who are teaching him all good things, good values, how to behave. And, he becomes very pious, becomes very learned, becomes very skilled. So now the time comes around 14, 15, they decide, now they are a little more confident. They say, okay, the way we have brought him up, I think we have changed his character. So I think with some confidence we can send him for higher learning. So they decide to send him to Takshashila. So he travels from Kosala all the way to Takshashila, near Pakistan. Kosala is in UP, Bihar. UP or Bihar. Travels all the way to Takshashila, which is in Pakistan. Finds a guru there and joins the Gurukulam. And the guru is very happy with Ahimsaka. Teaches him everything he knows. So much so that he, in spite of the guru having 30 or 40 other students, he almost adopts this Ahimsaka as his son. So Ahimsaka stays with the guru and the Guru Patni. He does Shishursha to the guru. The Guru Patni feeds him every day. So they're very close. Now all the other students watch this and they get jealous. This guy has just recently come and suddenly he becomes the teacher's favorite. We've been here for so many years. Now the teacher doesn't even bother to see us. So we must do something about this. So what they do is they hatch a plan. They say, if we go and tell the teacher directly, the teacher will, he'll say, this is not believable. But what to do? This Ahimsaka is so good and so virtuous in his behavior, we can't even make any stories about him, right? That his conduct has been improper, or he's stolen something, or he did something with a woman. We can't say anything because his conduct is so proper. So we'll tell the teacher that Ahimsaka is planning to unseat him. So they have this plan and they talk amongst themselves that, okay, at intervals, when the time is right, different people must go and tell him this different thing. So the teacher is convinced, okay, if so many people are saying it, maybe there'll be some truth. And the teacher will get scared. So first one student goes and talks to the teacher, and teacher says, yes, what do you want? And there is, sir, venerable sir, there's some talk. It seems Ahimsaka is thinking of replacing you. Teacher gets very angry. What are you saying? He's like my son. He'll never do something like that. Go away. Scolds that student, sends him. Like that, 2-3 days later, another student. Then 2-3 days later, another student. And they're all doing this to the guru's wife also. The guru's wife starts telling the guru. Now the guru is getting totally scared. What if this comes true? Then what's going to happen? So then he makes up his mind that somehow he must give Ahimsaka some task by which he will go away, and because of that task somehow he'll either be arrested or he'll be executed or punished. That is the plan the so-called guru hatches. And it's possible he might have seen Ahimsaka's horoscope and he would have found that, this person is very ripe for violence. That is in his character, that is in his horoscope, in his chart. So one day he calls Ahimsaka and he says, Ahimsaka, I've taught you everything I know. Now you're very good, you've been my very good student, you've served me very well. Now is the time for you to go your own way, but before that you must offer me Guru Dakshina. Ahimsaka is delighted. Of course, whatever Guru Dakshina, it's my pleasure to give you. What do you want? Just ask and I'll give. So the Guru says, I want 1,000 Kanishtikas. So 1,000 little fingers. Go find 1,000 little fingers, you bring them to me, that is my Guru Dakshina. Right? So first Ahimsaka is a little shocked. Because all his training, all his learning, his years of bhakti, his years of vichara, all these things are now, they're in conflict. But the Guru says, so he asks the Guru, please ask me for something else. How can I give you something like this? This is not a small thing you're asking, and it seems to be a very cruel thing. And the Guru insists, no, this is what I want. So then his old vasanas come back. He says, okay, I'll go. So he leaves and he says, I'll come back and see you in 1 year with my Guru Dakshina. So he leaves the ashrama, travels all the way from Takshashila back to Kosala, and he has a full kit. He has a belt, and in that belt there's an axe, and then he has a bow and arrow, and he has a big sword and everything. So what he'll do is he'll climb on top of a cliff which is near a big highway, and when people are traveling along the big highway, he'll go and he'll stop them and he'll cut off their little fingers. Not only that, he will kill them. So he becomes a serial killer. He starts enjoying this. Not only does he stop with taking the finger, this old, what that astrologer predicted comes true. So his charita itself becomes that. He becomes a serial killer, and he's totally enjoying this violence. So time is going on like this, he's collecting, and now he has 999 little fingers. He has only one more little finger left to collect. In the meantime, what has happened is, so when he was on that cliff, people were coming on the highway, he would take their finger and chop them and kill them. So this news started spreading. So people avoided using that highway. So he started going into all the villages, neighboring villages, and he would find people, kill them, take their kanashtika and go away. So over time, what happened is that all these villages started getting empty. No one wanted to live in this village. And they all migrated in large numbers to the capital, which is Shravasti. In Pali, it's Savatthi. It's beautiful, even now it's there, near Ayodhya. Savatthi, beautiful place. So from all of these villages, they start flooding into Savatthi. And then King Pasenadi is wondering what's happening. So he asks his advisors, go and find out. So they tell him, there's a bandit there called Angulimala. Because he collects all these angulis and wears them around his neck, he's called Angulimala, literally finger garland. Right? So Angulimala is there and he's troubling us like this. So Pasenadi is very, very sad, so much of ahimsa, so much of himsa, so much of adharma, all this is going on. So he collects a big force and he tells them, tomorrow morning we are going, we'll either capture this Angulimala or we will kill him. And of course Garga hears of this and he starts shaking because he knows that this is his son. He doesn't tell the king, but he knows, heart of hearts, this is his son. So he goes home and tells his wife, Mantrini, he's come back. He's the one who's sitting in that highway murdering all these people. Tomorrow the king is going with his army. So Mantrini feels very sad. And the love of a mother is very natural. She'll say, no. Before the king goes, I will go. And I will convince. First she says, you go and convince him, bring him back. Father says, I don't need a son like this. Let the king kill him. I'm not interested. So she says, I will go. So she starts going. Early in the morning, before the king even leaves the palace, she's walking on this highway. From the ledge, Angulimala has spotted her. He's recognized his own mother. He knows that this is Mantrini. And yet, he says, I'm going to get my 1,000th finger. I don't care if it's my mother. So what if it's my mother? I'll kill her and I'll take the Kanashtika. So the Buddha is sitting there. Actually, the Buddha is in Savatthi. He has a monastery there. And through his divine vision, through his Jnana Drishti, he is able to see this is happening. And he knows that Ahimsaka at heart is a good person. Only causes and conditions and circumstances have changed him like this. So he says, I have to stop this because Matrahatya is it's almost like Brahmahatya. If you kill your mother, that sin, the karma of that sin is so heavy that probably you can never get absolved of it. So the Buddha says, I must stop this. So using his psychic abilities, Mantrani is walking here, Angulimala is walking towards her. The Buddha manifests right in the middle. Now Angulimala is very happy. Oh, there's some samana here. I don't have to kill my mother. I'll kill that samana and take his finger. So he starts following the Buddha instead. And the Buddha seems to be walking in a very measured pace. He doesn't seem to be walking in any great speed. But Angulimala is never able to catch up with the Buddha. And the more he runs, the quicker he moves, the quicker he walks, the Buddha seems to be getting further and further away. But the Buddha's pace is the same. So this confuses Angulimala. He's shocked, he's stunned. Like, I'm so powerful. I can run and catch anything. Now this monk, I'm not able to catch him. His ego is hurt and he's shocked. So he calls out, "Oh Samana, stop." So the Buddha turns around and says, "Ahimsaka, I have stopped a long time back. When are you going to stop?" And this hits Ahimsaka like a lightning bolt. He realizes what he has done is wrong. And he repents, very genuinely repents. He drops his weapons and falls at the feet of the Buddha, asks for forgiveness and says, "I would like to become your disciple and join you in your monastic order." So the Buddha says, "Ehi Bhikkhu, come." Bhikkhu takes him to the vihara, gives him a set of robes. Then King Pasenadi, so all this has happened. King Pasenadi is now moving out with his army to go catch Angulimala. So before going to that spot, he says, "Okay, let me go to Jetavana, which is the name of the monastery of the Buddha, which is near Savatthi. Let me take the Buddha's blessings, and then I'll go and catch Angulimala." So he goes, the Buddha is sitting there and he sees Pasenadi. He says, "Oh king, what's going on? Are you fighting a war with any of your neighbors?" He said, No, Lord. There's this Angulimala. So we are going to catch him and we have to decide what to do. We have to secure our kingdom. All our villages are lying empty. All our people are full of fear. So the Buddha says, "Oh king, what would you do if this Angulimala were to take on robes and he had completely repented his past life and is now living a life of virtue and renunciation?" King Pasenadi says, "Well, if that's the case, then fall down at his feet and I'll pay homage to him. I'll offer him all the requisites, but I don't think that will happen." So Buddha says, "Well, he's right there. See, that is the Angulimala you're searching for." So Pasenadi is shocked. So then he goes and he prostrates before Angulimala, and that's why in the Pali scriptures he's called Mantraniputra or Mantraniputra in Pali. So son of Mantani, because Mantrani, son of Mantrani, because Pasenadi doesn't want to call him by Angulimala because that's the name when he was a dacoit. So anyway, henceforth people start calling him Mantraniputra or Mantraniputra. So the king pardons him. Now there's no more quarrel. But the king goes to the Buddha and says, "Lord, you're okay. We know that you are a supreme being. We know that you are fully enlightened. You can take a criminal and convert him. But I'm not sure if any of your disciples can do that. So please ensure that this doesn't happen again." So there the Buddha lays down a rule and that's followed from that time on, saying anyone with a criminal record cannot become a bhikshu. Right? So then Angulimala starts going out on alms round. on Bhiksha. And people recognize him. Some people are very, very wonderstruck. Some people are very happy. And so they offer him alms, they offer him food, they offer him clothes and everything. Other people, they just can't forgive him because he has killed so many people. So many mothers and fathers and children, brothers, sisters. So people start throwing stones at him and beating him. And he just accepts that, and he says, this is my karma. This is the result of my karma. So I should not blame them, I should not get angry at them. All that comes up is compassion. All that comes up is regret, a wise sense of regret, a wise sense of appreciation that, at least now he's not reacting. So like this, many days, some days he'll get food, some days he doesn't, some days he'll only get beatings. So over time he becomes, everything is broken, his skin, he's bleeding. So the Buddha one day sees him, and the Buddha realizes that he's going through a really hard time. The Buddha, out of all his compassion and love, says, "Oh Brahmana, don't give up. You're on the right track. Just keep with this and you'll soon get full understanding." And so this gives Angulimala a lot of courage. This gives Angulimala a lot of Shraddha. And it's a huge blessing from the Lord Buddha. So the next day, when Angulimala is on alms round, there is a lady who's pregnant and she's just about to give birth. And it's a very complicated pregnancy. And nobody knows how to deal with this. So Angulimala says, I want to go see her. So they put a screen around her bed, and Angulimala goes and he recites a protective chant. So we have these protective chants called parittas. So then he composes a short chant and it's called Angulimala Paritta. So today in any Buddhist country, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Burma, Vietnam, Cambodia, whenever somebody is pregnant, they'll call a monk and ask him to chant the Angulimala Paritta. Someone who was a serial killer becomes the protector of pregnant mothers so that their delivery can happen properly, safely, without any complication. So, Angulimala, he chants the paritta, then the mother delivers the baby is healthy. Angulimala comes back, and then they give him his bhiksha, he eats his bhiksha, comes back, sits down to meditate, and attains full understanding, full enlightenment, and goes to the Buddha, pays homage, and after a while he gets Mahaparinibbana. So that is the story of how the Buddha converts a serial killer, changes him to an Arahant. So that's it. I'll leave today, no more time. It's already 11:25. So we'll talk about Kissa Gautami tomorrow. So before Acharya comes back, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes.
In your 10 factors, you have said that we should not look at, we should go beyond the dualities of taking the right and choosing and not choosing.
Opposites. Choosing and not. Okay.
So, but in Vyavahara, like even for this, in this story, for example.
Yes, Vyavahara is different. You have to. See, I'm talking about an internal attitude of a sadhaka. When it especially comes to sadhana. See, Vyavahara, definitely you have to choose. There is definitely choice, there's definitely decision. But even there, that choice and that decision, notice how much stress there is in every choice and every decision.
So,
Yeah.
but so in Vyavahara there is this duality.
Yes.
But not with too much ragadvesha, you say, right? Not with very strong feelings, not with stress.
Yeah, that's what we should try and move away from. That's what we should try and move away from.
How many Buddhas were there before and after Lord Buddha?
Ask Gautam. So now they say there's going to be one more Buddha, Maitreya. Each school has different traditions. In Theravada, there are 28 before Gautama. But generally, there's a lot of similarity between each of them. Yeah, 28. And any other question? No? That's it. Yeah, 28 in Theravada. Kisa Gautami, நாளைக்கு சொல்லலாம் அப்படி.
When Bande told that Buddha's statement that the doors are open for Nibbana, what is that?
Aparuta te sangamata sadvara yesotavanta pamucchantu saddham.
So I just wrote it in Sanskrit there itself. Apavritam dvaram mokshasaudhasya esham shraddha bhakti agachantu te dhanyatama manushyaha. The doors to freedom, liberation is open. Those who have shraddha and bhakti, let them come forward. They are really blessed. The Upanishad Rishi also says, Shrinvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha. Let everyone listen. All of you can attain that immortality because you are children of immortality. Aye dhamani divyani tastuhu. Not only those who are in this world, those who are in the Devaloka, they also. That's why you see in Buddha's stories, Indra will be coming, Devas, many Devas will come, like that. So, in Bhagwan's life also, some few of Bhagwan's attendants will be sleeping there in that room. Now the meditation room. In those days, the entry door was from this side. You can see that door there. So, where now we have the Samadhi hall, from there was the entry. So, Vaikuntha-Vasar, one of Bhagwan's attendant, was sleeping near Bhagwan. He in his reminiscences, he says, one day night I woke up and I saw, just like the story was telling, about 8 feet tall, full of effulgence, a being which was not human, standing before Bhagwan. So then he could not wake up, he could not stand up also at that time. It was a few minutes. Then later on he said, Bhagwan, I saw like this. Bhagwan said, oh, he said, oh, you are able to see that, like that. So, anyway, these things repeat, the stories repeat. So, it only shows that you can get listeners everywhere. Seeking liberation everywhere, any place, there will be seekers of liberation. And when such a great teacher arrives, that is the moment when the doors are all open. and a person can get liberated. Bhagavan has translated one verse from Yoga Vasishta where he says, Tala vrindena kim karyam labdhe malaya marute. Tala vrinda means this hand fan. What is the use of this hand fan when there is that mystical Malaya Maruta breeze? When there is good breeze, you don't need fan. And what is the Malaya Maruta breeze does? Wherever it is there, all the trees become sandalwood. This is the story. Like that, when there is an enlightened master, whoever is receptive to it gets that attainment. He becomes awakened. So when such a great teacher is there, it is a great blessedness. Then all our personal sadhana, personal pursuit, it all becomes meaningless. When you have that, the only sadhana is satsanga. So that we feel, when we hear all these stories, we feel that that is very important. In Bhagavata there is a shloka which says, the greatest spiritual practice is this contact with an enlightened being. I am very constantly using this term enlightened. We don't know what is enlightened. Enlightened in the sense someone who is spiritually blossomed. Somewhere you find the light of Atma Jnana. Somewhere where there is Vairagya, where there is Viveka, whatever sadhana you need. In that presence you are inspired. Sometimes some saint who has done so much of japa and he has attained the highest through that. And you go to the presence of that saint, you are inspired to do japa. That energy will be there. That energy will be there. The person will be inspired to do that. And some other saint who has so much of love, that divine love, is contagious. You go there, you catch hold of that. If you are receptive, whatever you are receptive, that comes to you. And if the Guru is a jnani who is absorbed in that mauna, Brahmanishta, you get a glimpse of it. You are awakened to your own glory. You also feel that the truth is there within you. You know that you are not the body, you are the self, you are Atma. So you are just, a kindling happens. So, this is one side of the story. Another side, while narrating the story of Shankaracharya, we were just quoting from Swami Vivekananda, where when he was narrating Ramakrishna's life, he says, a child which is born as the result of a prayer, that is a blessing to humanity. That the purpose of that saying is that when a child takes birth, there should be so much of prayer behind it, so much devotion from parents, that bhakti, they do austerity, prayer for that child. So that is a good thing that the parents should do. But that doesn't mean that only a child born like that will attain realization, will attain spirituality. It is not at all so. So, that is to highlight the duty of parents. You can see this story of Angulimala, such a criminal person, he became a saint. In Gita, Krishna says, Apichet su duracharaha bhajate mamananya bhag. Even a durachari, characterless, immoral person, suddenly the resolve comes inside him to be spiritual, to attain the highest. He is awakened. Sometimes, a child is born not from a good parenting background, but the child becomes a saint. Because everyone is carrying this seed of liberation in their heart. Anyone can blossom, whatever may be. In our village, nearby village, there was a person who was running a toddy shop, a liquor shop. And he will also drink. So whatever remaining is there, he will drink. So he will drink. He was a drunkard, and one quality was there in him. One quality. See, this is anugraha. No? One quality was in him that rarely in our place we will meet sannyasis. Like Rishikesh or Haridwar, you will very often see Swami, or Tiruvannamalai, you will see people with kashaya. But generally what we see are Brahmins, very devout Brahmins, those who have learnt Vedas, those who do japa, sandhya vandana in the river. In those days they will go to the river and do the morning anushtanas like that. So this person, whenever even he is intoxicated, in that state also, head whirling, then also he will fall at the feet of a Brahmin, or some sadhu he meets, he will fall at his feet. But generally people, hey, go, they will say, because full of this smell will come, no? So this was one quality he was carrying. So one day he was coming back from his shop in the evening, fully intoxicated, and moving every corner of the road, like 8. So he met a sadhu, a Tamil sadhu, because that is the border. So a Tamil sadhu, and he fell at his feet, and with great difficulty stood up. It's an old story, very, very inspiring story. You know what that sadhu did? He gave him a slap in his face. Padahan already. And he said, will you drink from today onwards? You are going to stop this. He said, Sri Swami, Sri Swami. What job you are doing? He said, Kallu Kadai. He said, liquor shop. Another slap he got. Said, you close your shop, tomorrow your shop will not open. He said, Sri Swami. He said, that day he closed it. Next day he didn't open. His only survival was through that. And slowly he found a way. He made a tea shop there, a small shop where he will serve food like that. And he used to give free. He stopped completely, that one slap, So instead of this lecture, that we can do. More beneficial, very quick result. No meditation, nothing. Malayalam used to say, when you have some character problem, they will say, Adinnor Aushadam Adiyanayatu Vadiyal Arulidam. The only medicine is Adi. Adi means beating. So, this person's problem got cured. Not only that, he was running that tea shop, and just like in Tiruvannamalai, they will call Shiva and all sadhus they will serve. Like that, he started serving sadhus. He will not take money from them. He will do namaskara to them, give food to them, give something to them, serve them with so much bhakti. And he was totally illiterate. Neither could he read nor write. So, someone who is coming to his shop every day, he started learning Tamil from him. Writing Tamil, reading Tamil. And some sadhu initiated him into that spiritual tradition of Ramalinga Swami, Vallalar. So that tradition he was initiated, the mantra was given, Upadesha. These are all story happened near our place. So, and he will go to the river by morning 2:30. Morning 2:30 he will go to the river, take a dip. After his snana he will sit there in japa till morning 5:30. Then he will come and open the shop. That was his daily routine. And read this Tiruvarulpa, Ramalinga Swami's work. And he was slowly, was a thorough bhakta and very well read in that Tiruvarulpa. And his son became a great artist in the sense of Kathakali, that there is two schools. And one school is Sadhanam. In that Sadhanam, he was a Kathakali singer actually. Very beautifully he will sing. Very beautifully he sing. One day he sang one Tiruvarulpa song before me. And I got inspired, something went inside me, and I was at Kaladi at that time, Shankaracharya's birthplace for 3 years. So there I wrote a Tamil song which now Narayanan has sung, that Shivapadamālai. So that came from this inspiration. At that time my Tamil was very pure, poor. Very poor. So that time I wrote, now I could not find any mistake in it. It's completely out of inspiration. So this Tiruvarulpa he will sing, and this Sadhanam singer, his son, he was called Sadhanam Jyoti. He only told me all these stories. So he went to world tour with the Kathakali group. There he met one Frenchman. He came to learn Kathakali along with him. But when he saw his father, he left all this interest in Kathakali, became his disciple of his father, and learned all this Tiruvarulpa, and he was a yogi. This Westerner, he practiced yoga, and he was a great devotee of his father. He was a disciple, got initiated from father, and he stayed in many places in forests, many places. Many stories about him also, this Sadhanam Jyoti told me. And this man, when he was about to die, he was called Chayakada Swami. He became well known as a tea shop Swami. So, while dying, this Frenchman, he learned the Tiruvarulpa, this Tamil. Very difficult actually. One portion of Tiruvarulpa is Ahaval. This Ahaval is very difficult. So he sang that Ahaval, listening to that with tears in his eyes, chanting that Arul Perum Jyoti. That is Arulpuram Jyoti, chanting that with tears in his eyes, full of effulgence, he dropped his body. So, see, the whole thing arose from a utterly ignorant background. Everyone, and you can see the opposite also. Good, cultured family, even this Ahimsaka was born in a very good Brahmin family, very cultured background, but he turned out to be a terrible criminal. So this is also quite possible. So if you accept about give too much importance to the background, the gene, then you take away the free will of human being. The free will of human being is the seed of liberation. The free will arises from within. The free will arises from God. It arises from God within you. And what we call as grace is free will turned towards sadhana. Free will which tells you can attain. Whatever may be, you can attain. When you go to a great teacher, the will is awakened. As in Gita, Krishna says, I am that will in human body. I wake up in the human soul as the will for liberation. Paurusham Nrishu. He says, I am the Paurusham. When Parikshit left out the kingdom and came to the bank of Ganga, Shukacharya says, Mahapaurushiko Bhavan. You are Mahapaurushika. You have that immense will. The resolve has woken up within you to become liberated. When the thing is, that has to happen. Sometimes that will happen, when you find everywhere there is sorrow, misery. Your life itself is misery. Then wakes up this will to be liberated. Sometimes, it is just like this tortoise rabbit story. Rabbit was overconfident. Right? Like that, I have a good family, I am born in such a great lineage. See, when Ganeshana used to say, he was born in Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's family, grandnephew of Bhagavan. So when he went to Ananda Ashram, Ganeshana used to say, everyone will tell me that you are really blessed, you are born in Bhagavan's family, like that. But when he went to Ananda Ashram, Mataji Krishnabai said, it is very sad, Ganesha, that you were born in Bhagavan's family. Because everyone will tell you, you need not do any sadhana, you need not strive. By being born there, you will get, it is not true. You have to strive. You have to do vichara. Then only you can attain. There is no other way. So, the human will has to wake up. Sometimes it will wake up in such places where you can never expect. Sadratnam, as Manusmriti says, you will find a diamond in the dustbin. A good diamond. Like that, if the bag, that is why we call Pankajam. The lotus is called Pankajam. Pankam means slush. It blossoms in the slush. You can see even now, you can see great saints, sages born in the most uncongenial families, uncongenial places, anywhere. Because nobody can obstruct the liberation of a person when that current has started operating. Everyone is having that within them. We can see these stories also in even Sugabrahma Maharshi, the greatest of the sage. The story goes that he was born in a mixture. in a problematic parentage, you can say. Because the story is that some Apsara came and through that only it happened like that. It is not like that the parampara the same way. Although he is a Vyasaputra. Many sages' stories like Vyasa's own birth is like that. Vyasa's own birth is like that. We don't know whether they wrote it deliberately so that such lack of confidence will not come. Their compassion made them write such stories that you should not believe these limitations. You should not believe that only he can attain, I cannot attain, only this person can attain, I cannot. No. Mokshadvaram apavritam. Apavritam dvaram moksha saudhasya esham shraddha dhanyatamate manushya. Those who have shraddha, they are really blessed, they can walk. The Vedic Rishi says, let them come, let them come. Amayantu brahmacharina swaha, vimayantu brahmacharina swaha, paramayantu brahmacharina swaha, shamayantu brahmacharina swaha. He is invoking such good souls, such brahmacharis who are ready to attain, who are peaceful in their mind, who are ready to receive this higher knowledge, who wants to be liberated. Let them come. Ramakrishna used to cry from the top of that temple, Dakshineshwar temple. What is that? எங்கேயோ என்னவா இருக்கு. Yes, this is our problem. Some connection is not there. Used to weep that my children, where are you? Have not come, like that. And whenever the destined disciple arrives, the look will be like, so many days you took to come. This was with Bhagavan also was like that. No? So the link, the spiritual life is grace. Avan arulal avantal vanangi. As Manikavajikar says, by his grace you are able to do sadhana, you are able to do japam, you are able to do namaskara. அவன் அருளால் அவன் தாழ் வணங்கி அவன் அருளால் அவன் அருள் பெற்று அவன் அருளால் அவன் அருள் ஆனேன். This is the completion of the journey. So it is all run by grace. And what about free will? Free will also grace. Grace manifests in your heart as free will. Free will to become liberated, not free will to go away from God, not free will to indulge in the worldly things. The free will to do sadhana, to attain the highest. That is awakened in a person in the presence of a sage. That is the real Shaktipada. So for that only they were all. See, when Angulimala met Buddha, this is a very inspiring story. Amarchitrakada, those who have read that, they will remember this story. Where Angulimala, 2 or 3 more statements are there. When Buddha preaches Angulimala, Angulimala says, "Oh Shramana, I don't want your preaching, I want your fingers." Then Buddha says, by all means take the fingers if it will give you peace of mind. If he is peace of mind, that very word, he feels, because that is something which he was lacking. You know, when Angulimala was born in Amarchitrakada version, perhaps Bande will say Mahayana version, some difference will be there, the story. All the weapons were making sounds. So everywhere, they were all wondering what is happening. And then this child was born, then this astrological prediction comes, then this Prasenajit says, oh, now I know why that happened. But Buddha, yes. And Buddha has taught me not to doubt the potential of goodness in human being. So send him to the teacher. In Amarchitragada version, the teacher is not asking for finger. What we have read is that by his own inclination, because the teacher doubts him and sends him away, and he meets a robber in his way, the robber tries to, because he comes back to his house, his father also says, you have been sent out by the teacher, I don't want you. He goes to another teacher, every teacher tells him, don't come here. So he becomes a criminal, a killer. Because this thug who catches hold of him and tries to kill him, he fights back. There this tendency, this vasana wakes up. That's how the story. And in my younger days, some children in Ramakrishna Math, I've seen they did this drama of Angulimala. So all this announcement will be there. Don't go by the way from Shravasti to Vaishali, that Kosala, Angulimala is there. So one single person, a robber who kills so many people, who is there to not to loot your money but to take your fingers. So there is the picture also very beautiful. Buddha with his, one more story we got. Why Buddha alone is wearing, having hairs. So in Sri Rudram it is there, Shiva as Jatadhari and as the tonsured, both like that. Shankaracharya also the same problem is there, no? Story wise, Shankaracharya had no this wearing like this, or he was wearing only a kaupina perhaps. But if you make a Shankaracharya like that, nobody believes it is a Shankaracharya. We have Shankaracharya here, idol, which he is wearing only a loin cloth like Bhagavan, nothing else. So people will not believe. So this is this iconic, this figure, which was drawn by Ravi Verma about 100 years back, that becomes well known. So we want a very beautiful figure, all the devatas, they are all very well shaven, very daily shaving, very good makeup, very clean. But in Bhagavata, Krishna is pictured like this, that Bhishma is driving the chariot, all sweating, the whole body sweating, dusty. And you cannot imagine, in Chennai there is a temple where Krishna with a big mustache, Parthasarathi. So he was like that. So anyway, so we got all this bhavana. Bhavana is very important. Bhavana is very important. In spiritual life, it is very tender. It should be protected, safeguarded. So we had this wonderful session on Buddha's life. Tomorrow is the last day. Okay, tomorrow we will conclude this Buddha Saptaha. this Buddha Saptaha we will continue tomorrow. Tomorrow we will conclude this. We are really blessed to have this everyday satsanga. And Bandi, it all happened. Edricha. He just told I will come there and spend some days with Swami. Like that he wrote to Mauli. And it was my suggestion. I felt this is a good opportunity that someone should tell us the stories and teachings of Buddha, and it should come from everything should come from the right tradition. So whatever tradition they belong to, that tradition, from that tradition it should come. Then that will have that stamp of that authenticity. So it was our request, and he was also enjoying these sessions every day. So I have been talking every day because he wanted to listen to me. For that he came, but instead I have made him talk and I am listening. So for that purpose, every day in the beginning and end few minutes I am also giving like a mridangam you do, like here one touch like that. So beginning and end. So tomorrow we will offer this to Arunachala Ramana. Yato mamatma bhavasittumeva tato navachyam mama kinchidasti yathata veshtam kurumam tathaiva tumam atmanatham ramanam bhajami. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva. Yaggasmareణ విజ్ఞానం విజ్ఞానేన ఆత్మానం వేదయతి తస్మాదన్నం దదం ఏతాని దదాత్యన్నాత్ ప్రాణా భవంతి భూతానాం ప్రాణైర్మనో మనసశ్చ విజ్ఞానం విజ్ఞానాదానందో బ్రహ్మయోనిః ఏష పురుషః పంచధా పంచాత్మా యేన సర్వమిదం పృథివీ చాంతరిక్షం చ ద్యౌశ్చ దిశశ్చావాంతరదిశాశ్చ సర్వమిదం జగత్స సభూతకం సభవ్యం జిజ్ఞాసకృప్తర్జారయిష్టా శ్రద్ధా సత్యో మహస్వాంతపసోపరిష్టా జ్ఞాత్వార్థమేనం మనసా హృదా చ భూయో న మృత్యుముపయాహి విద్వాన్ తస్మాన్యాసమేషాం తపసామతిరిక్తమాహుర్వసురణ్వో విభూరసి ప్రాణే త్వమసి సంధాతా బ్రహ్మన్ త్వమసి విశ్వధృత్తేజోదాస్త్వమస్యగ్నిరసి వచ్చోదాస్త్వమసి సూర్యస్య ద్యుమ్నోదాస్త్వమసి ఉపయామగృహీతోసి బ్రహ్మణే త్వామహస ఓమిత్యాత్మానం యుञ्जीते तद्वै महोपनिषदं देवानां गुह्यं ब्रह्मणो महिमानमाप्नोति तस्मात् ब्रह्मणो महिमानमित्युपनिषत् अन्नपूर्णे सदा पूर्णे शंकर प्राणवल्लभे ज्ञानवैराग्यसिद्ध्यर्थं भिक्षां देहि च पार्वती माता च पार्वती देवी पिता देवो महेश्वरः बान्धवा शिवभक्ताश्च स्वरेशो भुवनत्रयं श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः भिक्षामृतसेवां समर्पयामः. நிறைய இடத்துல பகவத்பாதர் கோட் பண்ணுற லாஸ்ட் வர போர்ஷன் வியாச ஏஷாம் தபசாம் அதிரிக்தமாகும். ரினன்சியேஷன் இஸ் த கிரேட்டஸ்ட் தபஸ், நாட் டூயிங் சம்திங், கிவிங் அப். இன்னைக்கு சொன்னோமே அந்த கிவிங் அப் இஸ் த கிரேட்டஸ்ட் தபஸ். இப்போ இது சன்னியாசத்தோட மகிமைக்கு இதை தான் சொல்லுவோம். ஓமித்தேர்த்தம் ஆத்மான